Welcome to Desert Wanderers, produced by Salt and Light Radio. If you're new here, we bridge the gap between you and the person in the pew next to you. I will be interviewing priests, religious, and laity in our local Boise diocese, asking questions that'll help you navigate your vocation and help build community wherever you are with whatever resources you may have. Let's build the city of God together. Well, we're live.
Oh, we are.
Oh, we are.
So,
Cool. Awesome.
hi, Larissa and Jonney. How are you guys?
Very good.
So let's go ahead and just have you guys start talking about what you guys do currently.
Sure.
Let's just start with that. Okay,
Sure.
Larissa, do you want to start?
Okay. Yes. We just we celebrated our 21st anniversary. So we've been married 21 years. We have 7 children. I am the director of campus ministry at Bishop Kelly High School, and have been doing that youth ministry in the Valley for a long time, and a number of different ministries. But that's what I'm doing right now. So.
And then Jonney.
Yes, and I am her faithful assistant. And I love it. I love being together as a team with her, especially in anything ministry. It seems like, as you know, we go way back with you, sister. Maria Goretti.
Yeah.
Maria Goretti.
Yeah.
Amazing. Do you remember those?
I do.
Do you remember the monologue?
I just remember pretending to stab myself 7 times.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
12 times, sorry.
So yeah,
Fun
we should
fact.
explain this though. Like,
Yeah.
for people. People are like going to be like,
Yes.
"What is this?"
What is this?
So true.
Jonney and I have been involved in ICYC over the years, and Natalie,
which is?
the Idaho Catholic Youth Conference here in our diocese.
Which is the largest Catholic youth conference in the Northwest.
Yeah, I'm sure that's actually really true because it's a big thing. You guys get the Diocese of Baker in as well, right?
The Diocese of Baker comes. Yeah. So, but Natalie was back in high school. You were on our God Squad team, and you did a monologue at ICYC. And so every year we would have Saint monologues. You did one. Maria Goretti was awesome. So, yeah.
The funny thing about that is this year I'm helping with the women's conference, and we're having relics from Maria Goretti.
You have to do the monologue. Don't you think? Dress up and do it.
No. Maybe. I'll think about it. I'll
Think
talk
about
to
it.
Carol. I'll talk to Carol.
Yeah.
That's cool, though, that you'll have her relics there. That's awesome.
But you remember it.
Yeah, I remember doing it. I remember being so nervous. I think the team prayed over me 3 different times before I went on stage.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was
Now,
awesome.
I can't remember. Did you write that monologue or was it written before?
No, I think you had us
Yeah,
write
I think
it.
either. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Probably David O'Neill,
Might have helped, but
Yes.
who just passed.
I know.
Um,
I was
Yes.
heartbroken when I saw that in the register, actually.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
really involved with ICYC for many years, so
Yeah.
we miss him a lot.
When I went to Belmont Abbey, actually, the youth minister there was friends, I don't remember if he's the youth minister. He was a head of youth programs.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, he was really good friends with David. And
Oh,
so
wow.
it was one of the only connections I had when I went there is we'd
Oh,
go and
that's
just
cool.
talk about youth
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
Belmont Abbey is in
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
just
that's
outside
right.
of Charlotte.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
My brother played for the Carolina Panthers very briefly and got to be really good friends with, I think it was the president at the time of Belmont Abbey.
Was it Dr. Therafelder?
Could be. I know he said he used to go hang out at Belmont Abbey. So, could be.
Do you remember what year he was there? Or what
Oh,
year he
boy. We were in 2000. It had been around 2007,
9, maybe 2008.
2007 or 8. Yeah.
And that would be, I think, pretty close to when he
Yeah.
might have been a little further back. Anyways, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Let's get
Yeah.
back on topic. So you guys are doing youth
yep.
ministry and
Yes, and so when I say I'm her faithful assistant, I truly love, as you know, I've always been involved in the ministry together. We've always felt like we're, a team, and I love it. I love teaching young people about the faith, and that's one of my very most favorite things to do in life. But I also, on the side, my grown-up job is I run our family's company. I help. We have a couple companies in the Valley, and I help run those. So yeah.
Security companies.
Yep.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I think this is a really good starting point to talk back to how you first got connected and started dating and all that. So if you could go into that would be amazing for the listeners.
Sure. Okay. So we'll
Love
kind
at first sight, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I was doing youth ministry at St. John's. This is kind of a little bit of, I guess, our vocation story. And I had been a youth minister there for a number of years. And then Jonney came. He had been in Montana. He had went to college in Montana and was working there. And then he came to St. John's. At the time, the rectory was turned into a house of discernment and kind of a pre-seminary for men that were discerning the priesthood.
Known as the Trinan House, after Bishop Trinan.
Yep. And so Jonney came and was living there. Father Jairo Restrepo at the time was running that house, and he was a vocations director for our diocese. And so Jonney had started there, and he wanted Jonney to be involved in a ministry at the cathedral. And so Jonney had experience in youth ministry, so he kind of joined our team. And that's when I first met him. And it was great because he was in the house. We just kind of built a friendship around youth ministry. And I knew he was going to be leaving fairly soon for the seminary. And so what it offered to us was just this beautiful opportunity to just have a friendship and really nothing else than that. And that was a really great starting place for our relationship, which I don't know if you want to take it from there.
I mean, much like Focus, you can't date when you're in the house of discernment for the priesthood. You have like a, well, when I say much like Focus, I mean, Focus has a dating fast their first,
for a year.
For the first year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would have been awkward. I show up and I'm like, hey, Father Jairo, hey, I'm going to have a girlfriend, by the way. And no, you can't have a girlfriend when you're in discernment for the priesthood. So it was a very beautiful time. It was an opportunity for me. I was in a long relationship right out of college, in college and then right out of college. And then that broke off, and I started really praying, God, where are you leading me, right? Like, what do you want from my life? And instead of what I think that I want, I was just trying to really allow God to guide me. And I had taken a couple vocation trips to visit bishops in Montana. And then I started feeling a little guilty, and I was like, I probably ought to check out my own diocese in Idaho. And I had heard that they had opened up this Trinan House. Father Jairo and Bishop Mike at the time had opened up the Trinan House as a house where guys could come and just pray about their vocation and live in community with other guys that were discerning their vocation in the priesthood. So it was almost like a pre-seminary in a way, but it was very, very structured. Morning prayer together. Then we were required to have a job in the afternoon, and then we would come back for evening prayer and dinner. And it was a very beautiful time. So yeah, Father Jairo was the leader of the House of Discernment, and he said to me, "Where would you like to? What ministry? You have to join a ministry. What do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I really love to work with the youth," because I had done that in Montana and I really enjoyed that. It was something that I loved. And so he said, okay, let's go to lunch with the youth minister. So he takes me to lunch. He goes, hey, I want you to meet the youth minister. And I go, okay, great. I never knew who the youth minister was. So we went, he took us to a restaurant downtown, introduced us and said, this is Lorissa, the youth minister. And I was like, oh, hi. And, we started talking. And the next thing you know, Father Jairo leaves. And he goes talking to other people in the restaurant and just leaves us sitting there together for a
the whole meal. Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
And so we were just having a nice conversation. And again, just developed a beautiful friendship. I certainly wasn't, I was joking love at first sight. I mean, I always thought she was very pretty, but I wasn't like, oh my gosh, check out I know it's good.
However, he did set you up on your first date. So
well, and that comes to play that comes back around full circle.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Later.
several months went by, and we were just, doing ministry, doing retreats together, things like that. And then it got to a point where he was getting ready to leave the cathedral, and he was going to go home for the summer and then head to the seminary. But kind of in this process, we had both been praying and kind of discerning. And
Yeah, so I had heard that you could pray to this saint named Therese, the little flower, and I didn't know her very well until I was in a prayer group as a seminarian, and they said, "Yeah, do you know you can, if you have a request, you can ask for a gift of roses that she may give to you if your request is something that's, important or needs clarification." So I said, "Okay, I'm going to ask for roses." So anyway, I kept a journal. I have a journal of all this. So actually, let me back up. Because before I prayed to Therese, I said a prayer to St. Joseph. And I started praying to St. Joseph, please help me with my vocation, because I really wasn't sure, like, God, is this really what you want of me? And that was what I was to do there anyway, is to really pray about my vocation. So I was like, well, St. Joseph would be a great person to pray to and ask for help. So I made a novena to St. Joseph saying, hey, please help reveal my future spouse to me. And I would go to my spiritual director and I go, is this okay? Like, is this an okay prayer? He goes, yeah, as long as you're open to your spouse being either the church or, like a woman, that's fine, but you're open to both. And I said, okay, yeah, of course, that's why I'm here. So he goes, continue to pray. That was his big thing. Continue to pray. He would always say that to me. I go and pour my heart and soul out to him. Continue to pray. So I was like, okay, I'm praying to St. Joseph now. And I wrote all this down. St. Joseph, please reveal my future spouse to me, whether that's the church as a priest or a woman. And I started to notice about the third day of this prayer that there were times that I would pray it and then immediately Lorissa would pop up. Literally,
we would run into
physically,
each other or something.
Like
You're picturing me like popping.
Yeah, one day I remember standing in the Trinan house, looking out a window, praying this prayer to St. Joseph, and there's this door that nobody ever goes out of the back of the cathedral. It's up the back stairs. It's in between. It's in the alley between the. Mm-hmm. I finished the prayer, and she walks out that door. And I'm like staring out the window, staring at her, and I was like, reveal my future spouse to me. And then there was another day. It was very, very similar. She just kept physically popping up when I would pray this prayer. And I had never even, we just had a friendship, and I was thinking, no, what the heck? That was weird. So that was interesting. I shouldn't say weird.
Like right over your head.
Yeah.
So I just kind of felt like, like later on in the novena, I'm like, and I even wrote this in my journal. I said, I think St. Joseph may be trying to tell me, like reveal something to me about Lorissa being my future spouse. And so I got to the end of that novena and I'm like, okay, well. And then I went and I told my spiritual director these things and he says, continue to pray. And I go, gotcha. So then I heard about this saint who I did not have a very close relationship with at the time, named Therese, the little flower. And the woman in the prayer group said that you could ask for roses if those, as a confirmation or a gift. And so I wrote out in my prayer journal, Dear St. Therese, I think St. Joseph may be trying to tell me that Lorissa could be my future spouse. If that is correct, could you please help me? Give me some roses for that. So I prayed this novena, and at the end close to the end of the novena, I'm like going, what am I doing? Oh my gosh. I am like in the house of discernment, studying for like the priesthood or going off to seminary, and I'm like getting so confused here. Like, what am I doing? So I was like, this is ridiculous. And it was the last day of the novena, and I'm reading this going, oh my gosh, this is just I just need to focus here and go to the seminary. And I'm like, what? I'm like, but at the same time, I'm like, kind of thinking, what did I do wrong? I'm like, wonder why she didn't give me roses. Well, maybe it's not meant to be. And And I'm like, oh, I think I confused her. and I was looking at it, and I was just like, on about the 4th or 5th day, I changed, because the lady said you could even ask for a specific color. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to ask for white, because I had originally just thought red.
Yeah.
And so I was sitting at work, because remember we had to have a job, and I prayed that novena for the last time. I'm like, okay, this is silly. I should just, in my despair, whatever. And it was at this desk, quiet little desk, and at this business that I was working at. And I finished the prayer, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and in through the door walks this person who brought a dozen white roses with one red rose in the middle, and sets them on the desk, and turns around and says, hey, these are for delivery, and turns around and leaves. Now, did they have my name on them? No. It wasn't like, to Jonney, this is your sign from, but to me, I was like, and you should have seen my head, because I was praying the prayer, just kind of like, I am such a moron. What am I doing? And then like I'm praying the prayer, and I look up, and I'm like, what? It was just, it was like,
that's amazing.
It was like St. Therese with humor. It was so cool.
The single red rose in the middle.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So anyway.
This is what you asked for.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was just kind of blown away. So anyway.
It almost sounds like God was waiting for you to just be like, hey, give in.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then
surrender. Yes,
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which
gosh, so many times in our lives. But
Yeah.
I knew, I was looking at him, and then I was like, oh my gosh. I'm pretty sure Larissa's supposed to be my future spouse. But I'm like,
did you run over him?
How can I go? I cannot go tell her, like, oh, hey, I think you're supposed to be my future spouse. Because I think you got to be careful with certain things like that. I think we've talked about it before, is sometimes people can manipulate people even through prayer. Like, it's like, oh, I prayed about this.
Yeah.
And like, I got this. Well,
yeah.
Guess what? I didn't. So I was like, I can't do that. And I knew that Pentecost was coming up, and I'm like, I'll just do another novena. So I went back to my spiritual director, told him the stuff, and he goes, continue to pray. I'm like, okay. So that's what I'll do. I was just quiet, continued to pray, and feelings were getting stronger. And, like, I made a novena to the Holy Spirit. And then at the last day of that novena, she randomly calls me, because she had my number, because we were doing youth ministry stuff together. And she randomly called me and said, hey, well, why don't you take it from here?
So, I mean, really at this point, it's funny because, and I tell this to girls all the time, if we're giving like chastity talks or encouraging young.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
I prayed to the Holy Spirit. If this is for real, I was doing this novena to the Holy Spirit, and I'm not just making this up in my head, or this is some emotion that I'm having, then I need you, Holy Spirit, to make this overwhelming to her.
Okay. So, one of the things that I share with young women is to really not like to pray for their future spouse, right? Whether they're in high school or college, to pray for their future spouse, but to also, especially if they feel called to marriage, to really sit down for a few minutes and like write out like what are they looking for in a future spouse. And so before I had met Jonney, probably 2 years before that, I had done that. I sat down and I wrote down a list of all the things that I was like looking for in a future spouse. The spiritual things, like I wanted him to be a strong Catholic man. I had wanted my future spouse to have had discerned the priesthood. I wanted him to have a devotion to Saint Joseph. Like those were some of the things that I had on my list. And then obviously some superficial things like good looking, taller than me, like funny, good sense of humor, somebody that
just kidding.
Somebody that loved to sing, all of these things. Like I had like all this stuff kind of written out. And it's funny now looking back because, well, and I'll come back to this, but and then I also a couple years before meeting him, I wrote out a prayer for my future spouse. And I prayed that prayer every single day, that wherever he might be in the world, that God would watch over him, protect him, help him, to be the man of God that I knew he was. And that I wanted to love him even before I met him, And so that was like, I was like, how can I start loving my future spouse now, even years before I meet him? And I also had gotten to a point, because I had gotten out of a long relationship, and that wasn't so great. And I really knew that I wanted our Lord to be my matchmaker, and that I was willing to wait however long for God to bring who he had planned for me into my life. And so that was a place of surrender for me. And just knowing that until I met him, I would just pray for him and stuff like that. But what was funny is, after we had been friends and doing ministry for 5 or 6 months together, I knew he was getting ready to leave for the seminary, but there was something in me, like I was like, oh my gosh, as I got to know him more and more, he was like checking off all the boxes on my, all the things that I was looking for in a future spouse. And I remember even one time saying to God in prayer, like, what are you doing to me? Why have you brought this extraordinary man into my life? Just for him to leave and go to the seminary. And so I was grappling with that and praying about that. But nevertheless, it started to become overwhelming. I knew he was getting ready to leave, and I was like, oh my gosh,
overwhelming. Did you hear that?
It was getting overwhelming. And so finally, it was like right before he was about to leave, I called him and I was like, hey, do you want to get together and just pray? And at that point, I felt like,
Had you told Jonney that you had any feelings for him at this point?
No.
Okay.
None at all. And I did not think in any way that he had feelings for me. Like, nothing. I mean, we never really hung out together alone. I mean, it was always in a ministry professional setting. But we
didn't even really talk that much, as far as like, I mean, we weren't talking
like on the phone or anything like that.
No.
So, but I just, I really admired him, respected him so much. But then there was something in me saying that I needed to at least express what was going on in my heart, so that could be part of his discernment. Even though I anticipated him saying, oh no, I'm not interested. This is my plan. But anyways, to make a long story short, we ended up getting together. We went for a hike up to Table Rock, prayed the rosary together, and kind of both opened up and expressed that he kind of shared with me that he had been praying. And
yeah, I go to her, hey, we get up to the top of Table Rock. We're up there where the cross is. It's so beautiful, as you know.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, after we prayed the rosary, I said, hey, can I talk to you about something? Because I felt like, okay, God, like, I think you've brought this together to this point, and so I'm going to just be brave and just say, hey, can I talk to you about this? And she goes, yeah. And I go, just wondering if you've been noticing anything lately. She goes, like what? And I was almost to be like, oh, nothing. I just said to her, I go, here's the truth. I go, I've just been praying a lot, obviously about my vocation and life. And I go, you just keep coming up in prayer a lot. And I go, I'm just curious if anything like that had occurred with you.
Yep.
And you said?
And I agreed. And we were like, yes, let's, both of us were kind of feeling the same things, shared about that. And then we decided, okay, now what? What do we do? And he knew that he needed to go back and talk to Father Jairo and kind of let him know that we were going to begin dating and see what God had in store for that.
And so I said to her, I go, you're going to need to give me a couple days now I need to pray about Father Jairo, because I'm like, oh no, Father Jairo wants me to be a priest, and that is that, and he is going to be mad because he works with Lorissa, and he's going to be so mad at her for like taking a priest or, a seminarian out, and I was really nervous. And so again, I was like, continue to pray. Like, that's the answer. It's the answer for everything. And so I did. I prayed for a couple days on that one, and then I just randomly found Father Jairo alone in the
Trinan House.
The Trinan House, in the lobby of the Trinan House. And I said, hey, Father Jairo. And all the other guys just happened to be gone that day. They were on hike or something. And I go, hey, can I talk to you about something? Sure. I'll do his accent. Yes, Jonney, come in. He's from Colombia. Very holy man, by the way. Has a lot of spiritual gifts, like a lot of spiritual gifts. And I started telling him the story that I'm telling you now, and except I kept saying, this girl. I wouldn't say who the girl was. I just said, Father, I've been praying, and this is what St. Joseph said about this girl, and St. Therese, this girl, Holy Spirit, this girl. And he says to me at the end, he goes, Jonney, I think you would be a fool not to follow that when the saints in heaven are literally interceding for you, like that specifically. You'd be a fool not to pursue that. And I go, yeah. There's just one more thing, Father. I go, I need to tell you who the girl is. And he looks at me. I swear, this is exactly how it happened. He looks up at me after I said that, and he goes, Jonney, I already know. And I go, what? He goes, I knew this is why you were coming here to begin with. Whoa. And he starts telling me, he goes, I had a vision of...
Yeah, he said it, of celebrating your wedding.
And I said, why didn't you help me through this? And he goes, because you had to discern it. You had to discern and pray through this for yourself. He goes, but I knew. So I was
how did he tell you how long it took him to know? Like, was that when he was like, did he sit you guys down and be like,
he said to me, well, it was just really interesting to me when he took us to that lunch, because he takes us to that lunch and then he takes off. Like, I remember that first time we met.
Yeah.
Because I'd never met her before that. And he had told me when I came for my interview, he knew then.
Wow.
That was why. So I was like, interesting. Wow.
What a gift.
Well, yeah.
Thank you.
Seriously amazing.
So, I mean, that really, so we started dating and then got engaged a couple months later.
Can I pause first?
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys, if someone is single right now listening to this, like, what is your best advice? Obviously, pray.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Continue to pray. But what are some
advice.
Other things? I know that both of you guys talk about this to young adult or to like high schoolers, but think about like young adults or maybe even people that are older. I know that there's a lot of women my age that are still single, and I know there's lots of men same spots. Like, what is your biggest advice for all of those ages, basically, on how to discern that?
I would again kind of come back to like really prayerfully think about the things that you're looking for in a future spouse, and then look at those qualities and characteristics and then try to be that yourself.
Oh, that's good.
Right?
Yeah.
So like I wanted to be with a man that loved God and who had who loved the church and who had a strong prayer life and who would lead me spiritually. But I also knew that if I was going to meet a man like that I needed to be a woman who was also, who loved the church and who loved, who had a prayer life. And so all of those things, trying to be the best that you can be, in that time of preparing yourself for your future spouse and being the very best you can be in that regard.
Yeah. And I truly believe that if you are called to the vocation of marriage, that God 100% knows who your future spouse is. We pray for our kids' future spouses today, like now, like even if they're in kindergarten, whether that's the church, right, or a person, like we pray for their future spouses. But I 100% believe that and I always believe that as a young boy too. Maybe my parents instilled that in me, is that there is somebody that God has planned for your life, that is your future spouse, I don't want to say soulmate. This is always kind of a weird term, but your best match that helps you. Yeah, that's set aside for you. One of the readings that we used, and I had read this right after I had gotten the roses from St. Therese, but one of the readings we used for our wedding mass was Jacob meeting his wife. And I love that story because they prayed, like, the one that comes to draw the water, the next, that one will be, or offer my camel. The one that comes to draw the water and offer for my camel will be, and it was so weirdly worded and specific, but I felt like that's kind of like what we did. And look, I also know this is that our story is obviously a very miraculous story. Yeah. And I want to also like throw this out there because I don't want people thinking, well, I met my husband, outside of a church setting or something like, but that's okay because that was how God wanted you. That's how God brought you guys together, or whoever else. We're blessed to have our story, and everybody else is blessed to have their story. And it's really all about now going forward. It's like when I proposed to Lorissa and I truly believe this is the call for every married couple, is my greatest goal in life is to get her and my kids to heaven. Yeah. And that should be priority number one for any couple in marriage. And yes, am I thinking about that every single moment of my life and through all the hard times and the bad? No. But we try to always come back to that. It's like, what's most important? What is the most important thing? The most important thing is like, we're here now. However you got together, you're sealed in the in the sacrament. So you're being given sacramental grace your entire marriage. And the church even says, like, call on that grace. Ask for it. It's there for you, even in those most difficult times when you're not so like Twitter-pated with each other, which we always are.
Yeah.
Right.
All
the time.
All the time.
But I just want to make that clear too, because there's, everybody meets their spouse in the way they should meet them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the only other piece of advice I would have is, for me, like when I was like, before I had met Jonney, even a couple years before, when I was like really, I felt like there was this point in my life where I was kind of anxious about wanting to get married. My friends were getting married, and honestly, I was like, it's never gonna happen. Or I had this like, I would meet guys or go out on a date, and it just was, didn't work out. And I was like, where, anyways. But I do remember getting to a point where I knew that God was inviting me into a deeper relationship with him, and that was the most important thing for me. So like, instead of even really focusing on my future spouse and my vocation, I remember thinking, I need to fall in love with Jesus. Like, he needs to be my number one man in my life. And so after I had broken up and gotten out of that other relationship, there was this period where I was like, you know what, Lord, you are my man, you're my guy, and I need to spend my time and focus on you. And that was such a beautiful time, and there was a lot of peace in that, and the anxiety kind of went away, and I got to a place of surrender and of really just saying, Lord, your timing, I will wait for who you have in store for me. And at the time I was like 24, 25 years old. But I remember thinking, if I have to wait till I'm 30 or 40 or 50, I will wait. And there was a lot of peace in that. And I just remember like this pressure of like having to like look at, be in the grocery store and like think of, oh, is that guy, is he a possibility? It's just like, it kind of like just dropped all of that. And I was just like, Lord, I'm going to like trust that you will work things out in the right way. And I think even for Jonney, going into the house of discernment and really doing almost the same thing of saying, Lord, I'm yours and my life is in your hands. And I think the beautiful thing for us in looking back, of course, when you're in the midst of trying to go through stuff like that, you don't necessarily see it, but it's easy to see hindsight, is that God was orchestrating and he was working in each of our lives and bringing healing into our lives in different ways and working on us and getting us to the point where we were both ready to meet each other. And then it was beautiful and it worked out, from that point on. So
Lorissa talked about how she created a list, right, of things that she wanted to look for. But I mean, do you have any advice for maybe young men who are kind of in that sphere of discernment, right? Mm-hmm. Was there a point that you knew that you were supposed to get married over going to the priesthood? I mean, I know that you kind of talked about it and you were praying for a person, but did you ever like struggle with like more of a black and white view, or was it always just...
I was always just trying to be really open to the possibility of whatever God had in store for me. I was also in a long relationship, as I had mentioned before, and actually engaged. And that was, I felt forced, if that makes sense, because I felt, and this is crazy to say this, but we've talked about this too, is like I felt that relationship kind of like slipping away. And as a last effort to keep it, like I proposed to that girl.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Does that make sense? So like it was my will. It was like what I was trying to do, and it wasn't just something that was, I mean, we had been together for a while, through college and through the out. And after that had ended and I was crushed by that breakup, but I remember feeling like, God, I just want to follow your path, not what I want, but I just want to surrender to your path and your will. And so I would just say I was pretty open to whatever. Like I was fully in the mindset of I'm probably going to the seminary until the ship turned for me. So
it's so much easier said than done to accept, to surrender. I don't think we often realize how strong our pull for control is. At least like in my own life, I really struggle with like control. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it comes most of the time for people, it comes as like a security, right? I think, if we're talking about like how children develop, like security is like the number one thing you can give them, and they'll act out and try to have more things in their control if you're not giving them that stability. So I think that kind of applies to our adult lives too. So, I mean, I think the hardest part, and just like to reiterate to people, is that like, the surrendering is really tough, I think.
Totally. And it's a lifelong practice because, I always thought, once I have my vocation kind of figured out, then everything will be like smooth sailing. But our whole lives are discernment. Our whole lives are opportunities of surrender and inviting God in and taking control, and then going, what am I doing? Because he would tell you, I totally struggle with control and all of those things too. I think, especially for us as women, that is kind of something that helps us to feel secure, is to know what's going on and have a plan and have things figured out. And so it's that tension of going through life and trying to do the best that you can, but also making space for God to come in. And the more kind of we are gripping to what we think is best, it's harder, it's more difficult for us to be in tune to what God is nudging us to do, right? Because he's usually not very like going to come in and force us. He's going to like gently nudge us in certain directions. And so that's the nice thing for us in our marriage is discerning together. But man, life, gosh, is always this discernment of, okay, God, what's next? Discerning children and openness to life. And that, for us over the years, we have 7 beautiful children, but that has been a huge surrender, right? Our surrendering our will versus what God's will is, and bringing children into our lives, and then our jobs, our careers, our ministries. What is he calling us to? How is he calling us to use our gifts and to serve? What does that look like at different seasons in our life? And so it's a constant figuring that out.
So go into that a little bit more. So I was recently married and we have 2 kids, right? So we're kind of in that period of discernment. And I think with someone who has had 7 kids, what kind of process did you guys use to discern your children? And like saying more, I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but I guess where I'm coming from, and maybe you can talk to me and hopefully that would help someone else. But we had our kids back to back. My kids are 14 months apart. And we're just kind of getting to the point where they're a little more
manageable.
They have a little more like freedom. They can do a little more things for themselves.
What ages are your kiddos?
1 and 2.
1 and 2. The
littlest one is almost walking, and I know people are like, oh, when they're walking, it gets worse. I am like, they can climb the stairs. My 2-year-old can walk up the stairs with me behind him. I don't have to carry
your
both
kids are so cute.
But I guess what I'm saying is it almost gets we're almost to a point where we're more comfortable. Like we're finally sleeping through the night. We're finally doing all these things. Like how were you able to discern God's will for more children, and how were you able to, like, I guess for myself, I'll just speak for myself, like be able to, I guess, die to yourself a little bit more and know when is the right time. I guess there's just a lot of questions when it comes to that, because I think you can get into the place where it's like, oh, I plan out all my children. You know, everyone's planned. And then there's the people that don't plan at all. And then there's like, is there a balance that's fruitful in the middle? I don't know, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of the church, is that obviously there, you know, the church kind of has a Claire, and you mentioned that maybe you're going to have some people coming and talking about NFP on the podcast. So that's, you know, I mean, we went into marriage. We took NFP classes, natural family planning classes. We both understand and have studied theology of the body. So even going into marriage, we knew we were committed to living out the beauty of the church's teachings around that. And I have to say this though, like when we were going through our classes before we were married, it can kind of seem like, oh, this is just so great and so easy, right?
Amen. Amen.
And then you get into it, and after, you know, being together for 20 years and trying to navigate this, it's been one of the hardest things in our marriage. Also one of the most beautiful, because it has forced us to die to ourselves, to die to each other, you know, for each other and our family. But that's never easy, right? So that's super hard. It's forced us to communicate more and to really lay down our lives in ways that I never would have thought or understood until we were in the midst of it. But we had our first 5 children in 5 years.
Yeah.
And so
2 sets of Irish twins.
Oh my goodness. Wait, Irish twins is at 12 months, right?
Yeah.
Within
So Joshua and Caleb are our oldest.
They
they're
overlap
about
for 3 weeks.
Like, so they're 11
Almost
months
a month
apart.
11, yeah.
And then our 4th and 5th child. So that was hard, and that was not our plan. I mean, you know, I mean, we had our first baby, and then I found out 6 weeks later I was pregnant, and I was like,
how does that happen? I thought you couldn't get pregnant right after you had a baby.
And then
you can.
You can.
We learned that 5 times in a row.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay.
That's how that works.
That's how that works.
And so you have people say, don't you know how that works? I'm like, thank you. We could do a whole show on the things people say
people
that
have
are
said
like,
to us. Yeah.
Do you want to? I was nannying. So I had Elijah, and then I was nannying a boy, and they looked so similar. Like literally, when I first walked and looked at this boy for the first time when they were showing me him, I was like, that looks like my son.
Yeah.
It was weird. They were crazy how much they looked like. And I think the worst one was I was just done telling my mom, I hate going out in public because I'm so pregnant with my second. And I have the twins, and not the twins, but I have these boys, and they look like twins, and everyone tells me that they look like twins. And I was like, everyone makes a comment. So we go to the first store, and someone was like, oh, your children are so beautiful. And I was like, thank you. That's so nice. Yeah. This one's not mine.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? Okay. We go to the second store, and this lady comes up. Oh, can you know, we're strolling in, and this lady comes up with a dog. She's like, I have this puppy. Can she come see your kids? I would like to socialize. I'm like, sure. And she goes, well, looks like you guys need to have a better activity in your spare time. And I was just like, I cannot believe this stranger just said this to me. And my mom cracks up laughing because she's like, I cannot believe someone just said that to you.
It's amazing. But, it's fascinating, the things that we've been told, even in front of our children. Very negative things.
Remember that one lady in the store said to you? Do you remember that one?
I mean, I had one lady that was like, I would kill myself if I had that many kids, you know. And she was very serious. Like, she was like angry. She was like, no, I would seriously kill myself. And I was like, oh my. And my children are like all right here. And I'm like, well, it's a good thing that
I would literally be like, I'll pray for you.
Yeah, I mean, we did. We prayed. But you're just kind of like caught off guard, like, gosh, how sad. But nevertheless, you know, that has been for us, you know, each child. And I mean, I remember having my 5th child, finding out I was pregnant with him, and kind of being like, what? Because, you know, having all these children, you know, really close together, and I was working full time, and it was definitely taking its toll on us. I mean, like, you know, like not sleeping, not, you know, your body going through a lot. But God has been so faithful through all of it, and he has provided for us in more ways than we can imagine. And all of our children have been just the greatest blessing in our lives. And now I can see how richly blessed we are that, you know, I thank God often. And now that we have 7, we have these. So we have this year, we dropped off our oldest at college, and then we took our youngest in kindergarten. So we have this like big age gap, right? I mean, the age span between all of them. But what's really cool is that we have a kindergartner. We had a second, you know, our son was in 2nd grade, and then we have kind of the older ones. But I'm really grateful that we have these little ones in our lives too, because they keep things fun, and it's really powerful to watch the older kids interact with the younger ones, and there's just this beautiful dynamics that happens. And sure, when we were in the throes, like kind of where you are right now, where you're getting up in the middle of the night and you're changing diapers and you're doing all the things, it can feel very overwhelming. But nevertheless, like you will never, like, it will pay off. And the fact that they're close together will be a blessing in their lives. And, you know, as you know, God willing, if you have more children, the older, I mean, it'll just be, you'll see the blessings that come from it.
I really like the Messy Family podcast. I've only listened to like 2 or 3 of their episodes, but I remember listening to one of them talking about their siblings and how they were just so blessed with the siblings that they had. Yes. And now that they have them as adults and everyone can enjoy each other. And of course there were fighting and bickering, but they said that their siblings were their rocks when they were growing up. Yeah. And so I think that's the hard part, is trying. I think it's such a touchy subject, because you have people that have fertility issues that are trying to get pregnant. And then you have people that are extra fertile that get pregnant right away. Yeah. And then you have all of these women who are like talking together about when they should, or people with easy pregnancy versus hard pregnancy. There's just so many things to talk about when it comes to your next child. But I also I feel like for me, I am also just like struggling, like, no, don't get too comfortable. Like, I almost want to have my kids like super close together and have like a lot of kids super close together, because then once I'm like out of the like sleeping phase, I can be out of the not sleeping phase. Yeah. You know what I mean? Do you feel like you're young, the ones that were closer together, do you think it was, although it was probably harder because you have only 2 hands, but do you think it was easier in the long run? So like after they got out of that phase, do you feel like it's better that they were closer together? Or
yeah, I think we've seen you know, they're close, they're good friends, they played with each other a lot, so that was helpful. And you know, so I mean, I remember thinking when we had 3, I felt like we were completely outnumbered and totally overwhelmed. But then when we had our 4th child, it kind of just seemed like, okay, this is
what we do.
This is what we do. We're just doing it and stuff. But my heart really, I mean, through here we were having babies, and then I had friends that were struggling with infertility, and my heart was just breaking for them. Like here, I mean, I felt like we were trying to space our children out more, and that wasn't really working. But and so there was a cross that we were carrying in having babies so close. It was not easy by any means, and there was definitely crosses with that. But then at the same time, I had friends and know of obviously many women that are carrying the heavy cross of infertility and trying to figure that out as well. And so just trying to navigate all of that and bringing God into it.
So like I said, you guys have been really great parents, and your children have been doing great things. But I think, what advice do you have to parents on raising like holy children? Or, I mean, I'm not saying like that you guys have it all figured out, but I do think you guys do a good job with your children to at least pass the faith on. So like, what is some of the advice you might have to others, or what kind of things did your parents do with you guys? Because I guess that's another question I kind of wanted to touch with, is kind of what influences you got from your family on how you got to the point where both of you were so in tune with God to discern your vocation. So I guess the first question would be, what influenced your parents, and then what have you either taken from that and or grown and added to your own children?
You want me to go first? My mom is a saint. That's the best way to put it. That's how I've always felt. Is she's been the rock of the faith in my family and always has been. All my siblings would say the same thing. I'm the oldest of 5 siblings, and my dad was a convert to the faith and didn't, I think, at first understand a lot of the importance of aspects of the church and the sacraments. So he spent a little bit of time away from the faith growing up, but it was always like our mom would take us to mass and make sure that we were, we would say our prayers together. And it's just an amazing, loving mom. And then eventually, like, Dad came along through prayer, and then all of a sudden, boom! Like he catches on fire and starts really going to mass regularly and participating in the sacraments. And then all of a sudden, we started praying the Rosary. I always feel like that's probably the number one most important thing is prayer together, and especially the Rosary, such a perfect prayer that you could say, and you can add. We pray our Rosary together as a family nightly, and we add intentions in, so the kids will say an intention for their decade that they're praying. We've always celebrated the saints with our kids. They know it's St. Anthony's feast day today. He's one of our St. Joseph, St. Therese. We have special dinners for those saints, and then of course every Sunday and many days in the summer, now that they're off and they're not going to sit around, if we have time, we're not have meetings or work. We're going to go to mass, to noon mass usually, because we can't get the kids up early in the summer. But anyway, it's always just been. And then the other thing with us and our kids, and I mean, who knows? I mean, I thank you for saying we're great parents, but we'll see. We'll see how bad we've messed them up.
That's so true.
Like we really we're just relying heavily on the grace of God, and we're just trying, and we're praying for them, and I'm sure they're going to have moments of struggle just like we have, and moments of incredible blessings and grace. So we've never backed away from hard conversations with them, especially revolving around the culture. And I think that that's really, really important for families. They're like, oh, we can't talk about this. Actually, you can, and you probably should. No matter how awkward and uncomfortable it could be at your dinner table or around your prayer area is, and I listened to something on this recently. It was a podcast by somebody. I can't even remember. I've told Keith Pettyjohn, he's, Keith is, I'm kind of the podcast junkie, because I'm always, I put on the men's conference. I help put on the men's conference, and I'm always researching speakers, and usually through people's podcasts. But one of the things that really struck me was this podcast this guy did a while ago, and again, I can't remember who it is, but he talked about the importance of not backing away from those hard conversations, especially around the culture. And it's just like, we're going to just talk about this.
How would you bring that up, though? Would it be something that just comes up? Or
Yeah, I think that something will come up. The kids will say something about something at school, or there's a billboard that they saw, or a commercial comes on.
Commercials have been a big one. And, sporting, like we love watching sporting events, and unfortunately those aren't all perfect. Sometimes I swear you have to pause the commercials these days, but if you have that ability. But they'll see some of them, hey, or some kid at school, and that's it's like, I know there's two groups of people. Some want to say, well, I would just rather not have my kids involved in that, and that's good too. Like I understand both sides. It's like, I would rather shelter my kids from that, or I would rather allow them to be in the world but not of the world. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, our kids go to, they go to school, and they have friends, and they're not.
Yeah,
complete,
things come up.
Yeah, things come up.
Things come up. But
So,
we
and then
don't
they
share.
come home and they talk about it, and I'm like, oh, yeah, no, that's not. No, we don't believe that. Here's what we do believe.
So I guess with that, though, that means that your kids have obviously you've established trust with them, that they're still bringing those things up to you. So I guess, is there something that you think you've been really intentional about to kind of create that? Because I think oftentimes for myself, and I know some of my friends, it's like, okay, we can either protect them, like you said, or we can send them into the world, or do a combo of, maybe Catholic school or charter school where you have at least like-minded people, right? There's kind of these options. But the thing is, at some point, I guess there's the fear of, oh, well, my kids might not talk to me anymore, right? A lot of people talk about teenagers go through like a phase where they kind of go away from their parents, but I don't think that's necessary. I've seen parents who have really great relationships with their kids. I mean, my parents, I had a really great relationship with them, but I don't know what they did necessarily that made me comfortable in trusting them. Was there anything you guys did intentionally to try to build that trust with your kids, or is it just that you've always been super open, I guess?
Mm-hmm. And we've had to be kind of careful because we've had this big age range of kids, right? So there might be some things that are age appropriate for our older kids that we could talk about. And so we've had to, okay, hey, we're going to have this conversation privately with you guys, or versus the younger children being around and stuff like that. But I think we've just, ever since they were little, had, conversations. We try to have dinner together most nights of the week, and meals are really important. And then we have our evening prayer time that, things can come up during that time. And so it's just, I think, spending that quality time together, being intentional about that, and just trying to be present to each other lends itself for that. The other thing is that we've been involved in ministry for the whole duration of our children's lives, and we've been involved in youth ministry. So our kids have grown up in that environment where they've seen us engage with young people. And so I feel like we're pretty comfortable at engaging with teenagers, and whether it's in youth ministry or campus ministry, being willing to have those conversations with young people, and when they ask questions, not shying away for it, but like diving in and kind of navigating that. And our kids have just been raised in that. And I think one of the other beautiful things about being involved in ministry in the church when you're having children, like smaller children, is that we've been blessed with a whole community of friends that have been involved in our core member, our core team, and people involved in ministries and priests in our lives over the years that our kids have grown up with. And so even though we hope and pray that they can feel comfortable coming and talking to us, we've also created a really beautiful community for them. So there's some of our really good friends that have been involved in ministry with us are mentors to our kids as well. Yeah. And so I just feel really blessed that our kids have other adults in their lives that they can talk to, that they trust and value, that are going to kind of share our same values and morals and back those up, but that our kids feel comfortable talking to them as well. And then because of the nature of our ministry, a lot of our kids' friends come to us,
right? Right.
And they see that too. And they see, I teach campus ministry, and my kids, most of their friends go through my class, and they're in my class, and so I'm mentoring them and stuff. So that's kind of cool as well. But I think that gives our kids a little bit of a sense that we kind of know, like, especially with young people, what they're going through, because we've been involved with young people for 20 plus years. So
what are some examples, and it maybe not examples, but how do you guys bridge those conversations with your kids? Especially, it's interesting though that you guys have, I know there's lots of different types of parents, right? There's parents that stay home, there's parents that work part-time, there's parents that work full-time. So I guess, how have you guys navigated that? And then how has your work kind of influenced your family balance?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just think, it's, our family is obviously our top priority, but we both have worked full-time jobs through raising our children. We've just been blessed that God has somehow made it work, that we've been when our kids were really little, between Jonney and I, between our work schedules, we were able to kind of balance those out. And for the most part, we also have, like you, parents and family members that have helped us out, but we've been able to, up until they were in school, kind of take care, raise them at home. And then we've had them in school, and then they've just been part of our ministry. They've been a part of our ministry. So we would always have gatherings at our house, youth events at our house, and our kids grew up with that. And I love that. And that's, I think, maybe my advice for young families that are like working and they feel overwhelmed with kids, and it's like, oh, but maybe they feel a calling to be a part of a ministry, and they're like, oh, can we do this? Can we make time for it? And I would like to just, from my experience, being a part of a ministry has always been a huge blessing for our family. There's this fear that it's going to take away from it. And of course you have to make sure that it doesn't come first. But at the same time, I think it's important for our kids to see us. They see us, when all of our kids, when they could become altar servers, were altar servers. Jonney and I have been lectors and Eucharistic ministers. Now our kids are lectors and Eucharistic ministers. And so being a part of ministry has just been our lives. And I think that has made them enjoy it as well, because then they're a part of it. Like our older boys right now, they're ushering at Mass and helping with that. And that's been kind of cool to watch them do that and do the different things and be involved in youth ministry. So I guess, I don't know if that answers your question, but they see us kind of hopefully trying to model it. And then we empower them to get involved and to use their gifts to serve the church. And just from even in my experience with campus ministry and youth ministry, our young people just get so much more out of Mass and youth ministry and ministries in the parish when they are involved in it in some sort of leadership. I mean, you probably understand that.
Yeah. It's really interesting, I think, in my own perspective, is I really feel like ICYC, when you guys were running it, was something that kind of anchored me a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so when I had some trials later on, it definitely helped me double down, and not in a bad way, not like, oh, this or nothing, right? Mm-hmm. It was, oh, how do I answer these questions? And I know there's an answer. Yeah. Right. I also think that's really beautiful about our faith, is there's always an answer.
Yes.
There's people that have been practicing theology and philosophy for 2,000 plus years.
Yeah.
So they really have.
That's helpful.
They have lots of answers for us out there.
Yes.
But yeah,
and I think honesty too, going back to how do you, some of the questions that your kids have, if you don't know, just say, I'm not really sure about that. If one of your kids asks you a question and you're not completely sure, then I think it's more, it's just a better path to just say, you know what, I don't know, but you know what, I will find that out for you and we'll talk about it. Versus, and I've had people do this a lot, and I'm just kind of roll my eyes when they do this. Well, here's what the church teaches, but this is what I think. And then, what they think is completely against what the church actually teaches. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you for your opinion, because that's literally what it is. So I just think that being able to have conversations, just honest conversations, is a good way to engage your teens and bring, we'll have questions that we ask them sometimes at dinner, or if in prayer, I'm reading a scripture or meditating on one of the readings for the weekend, and I'll ask everybody, what their thoughts are about this, or, something like that. But
we have a holy hour as a family every Tuesday night. We've had that ever since Jonney and I were engaged, and that's been kind of a really significant part of our family's life, is going to adoration together, being rooted in that. And we've experienced so many graces and miracles in those holy hours with our kids, that we know God is working in their lives. And one of the things, whether it's in youth ministry or even with our own kids, it's one thing for our kids to know about Jesus, but we want them to know him in an intimate way, in a personal way. And so bringing them to our Lord and being with him is so important with that. As Jonney was mentioning, like, we celebrate feast days, we try to look for creative and fun ways. And I think that's the key. Like, with our background in youth ministry, many years ago, I heard this speaker I was at a youth ministers conference, and he looked at all of us as youth ministers, and he said, it is a sin to make the gospel boring. And he's like, I'm going to say it again. It's a sin to make the gospel boring. And honestly, like, I wrote that down, and it just pierced my heart, because the gospel is the greatest story, right, of our existence ever told. It's our story. It's his story. It's our story. And it's anything but boring. And so the challenge that we've always had in youth ministry is, how do we make our faith exciting and meaningful and relevant to the young people that we serve? And not that it always has to be, flashy or, things like that, but really falling in love with Jesus Christ is the greatest adventure that any of us could have. And so we've always tried to be creative in how we're teaching the faith to the youth. And then we're doing that, trying to do that with our families. So, for example, on St. Therese's feast day, obviously she's played a huge part in us coming together. But every year on her feast day, October 1st, like, we'll do the novena leading up to her feast day. And then we will go down to the Rose Garden at Julia Davis Park. We have a picnic with a bunch of our friends who also have a devotion to her. And we do these prayers there. And it's so cool. It's this whole, like, potluck, Rose Garden, roses. We talk about our St. Therese miracles that have happened, maybe read a little bit from, one of our books, and then pray the prayers together. And so that's a tradition that we do every year as a family. And
do you feel like you have a lot of community that, or I guess, have you surrounded yourself with a lot of community that are doing similar things? I think that would be a beneficial thing too for families, is to have other families that are doing it, so it's not just something weird that you guys do together.
So much, so many of the things that we have, I mean, we've just been blessed in it. All of these beautiful relationships that we have with other families have come into our lives because of our saying yes to being involved in a ministry, whether it's youth ministry, whether it's the men's conference. I used to help with the women's conference. I used to work here at Salt and Light Radio, and all, being involved in the different parishes that we've been in the Valley, like, all of those times that we've said yes to doing something in the church has always resulted in our lives being richly blessed by God, financially, with friendships, in so many ways. I mean, there have been times that we're like, oh, can we take this on? We do, and then we're blessed. And so every time, like, like when we talk about tithing, we always talk about, we give 10%, but God, you
can't outgive God,
right? He always gives you, like, tenfold, right? And it's the same with our time. I mean, our time is really our greatest commodity, but when we give God that time, and when we say yes to doing something that maybe he's calling us to do, he blesses us tenfold, hundredfold, right? In so many ways. And so our family's been blessed by that, and the friendships that we've had, and the people that we surround ourselves with. And so our kids see other kids whose families have, again, shared values, and I think it's just kind of normal for them.
How you guys dealt with technology in your household? Have you I'll just leave it with that.
Yeah, that's an area that we are not, I mean, we're navigating it like so many other families. And, really our kids couldn't have phones until they were in high school. But then.
And that was even a challenge for them. They're like, why can't we have one? Because and I know there's a lot of parents that are like, no, you don't even get one in high school. And that's fine. I mean, everybody has kind of what they feel like they need to do in that area. That's kind of like our line is, when you get into high school, you're going to have coaches, and everybody uses it. So again, for us, it's another one of those things. It's just like anything, you need to have boundaries, right? You need to have, like,
conversations, we check their phones.
We constantly check their phones. There's certain apps that we don't allow. But
I think the biggest thing is the conversations and setting those expectations. And then sometimes, if something is, there's been times we've had to take their phones from them for, giving them a break from them for a little bit.
It's actually the best punishment.
You should just give it to them so you could take their phone.
Yeah. So, but no, we're not perfect by any means. And there's probably a lot of other people that are doing it way better than we are. But we're all in this trying to figure it out. And it scares me to death. And I see firsthand the effects, of social media. And just like everybody in the world sees the effects of it in a lot of the negative ways and how it's affecting our young people and adults. Like we all struggle with it, I think, at times. But
there's a lot. It can also be used for good too, right?
Absolutely.
And it's like our oldest son is texting his buddies on mass times and get-togethers at the Newman Center and things like that. So. I think that, again, it comes down to boundaries, and it's no different than ourselves. It's like we can get way too caught up in zoning out on the phone, and just scrolling, and you have to put boundaries and check even yourself. So, yeah.
Those are conversations we have, definitely.
It's really interesting. I think, though, the thing is we can't get away from technology. Right. There's so many times when I'm like, I'm getting rid of my phone. I'm just going to chuck it out the window. And life doesn't work that way. I think that's a question I have for myself a lot. Is just how can I integrate technology in a healthy way? Mm-hmm. And I know that it can be used for good. There's lots of good things that have come
you
out.
Always had it?
Yeah.
Basically, so you're a millennial. So you've always had it there's always been cell phones.
I got my first cell phone
for you
in 5th grade.
Okay.
5th grade. Yeah. So basically but I think the beautiful thing though is that I didn't have technology. I didn't have, hold on. I got an MSN account and would do the chat feature.
The chat. Yeah.
I don't even think it was called chat at the time. Maybe it was. I don't remember. But anyways, I got that, and I remember it was probably 4th grade. Yeah. 4th grade, we would rush home because we didn't have our cell phones yet. So we'd rush home, and all of us would get on the computer and chat in our little chat box. And there'd be 15 girls that are all on it. Yeah. And in a way, it's really cute and sweet, right? That we had those memories, and that was fun. There's lots of stuff you could say. I don't know. I liked having a childhood where I didn't feel like I had to be on video games. I did watch a lot of TV. Yeah. So I think with technology, it doesn't necessarily just mean phones, although phones do take up a lot of our time. I think there's a whole thing on TV, computers, video games, VR. Yeah, there's just so much that I think kids have nowadays. Yeah. So I think you're right, though, when you guys are talking about the families you're surrounding your kids with. I think that would be a big part of it, because I guess if your kids are in a house with their friend and they have VR sets, then next thing you know, your kids will be like, I want a VR set. Right. So I think that's it.
We're 80s and 90s kids, so there was definitely, we remember what it was like not having the phones, and I loved it. I loved that time, and sometimes I wish we could all just go back to that. Yeah. Although it is nice, there are definitely some conveniences from it. Yeah. But like anything, there's going to be good and bad. I don't necessarily believe that it's good or evil. It's just a thing, and a thing can be used for good or evil. So, it's just boundaries, and I think that you. Again, going back to even ourselves, is you can catch yourself going, I need to put this down, and I need to really look up to my family, and I need to be present. And I think that's the biggest thing, is being present to each other. That's the thing that drives me nuts, is when my kids have their friends over and they get together and they sit on their couch on the phones, I'm like, no, let's put them down and talk. You know what I mean? And again, it's not, sometimes I'm that abrasive because I can be, But a lot of times I'm also just like, hey, let's go do this. Let's get off of these things and let's get, up and looking and talking to each other and playing games.
Yeah.
That's kind of a thing we do.
Play games. Yep. We're a game family. So that helps.
I love games.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, growing up without technology, we had, there was a ditch that never filled up. I think it was an overflow ditch.
Mm-hmm.
So only if it like flooded really bad did the ditch fill up. And this was over at my grandparents. And we actually made a tunnel out of tumbleweeds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that thing survived like 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
And then my grandpa was like, I'm burning it down. It's a hazard.
Yeah.
But we played so hard in that tumbleweed.
Were there grasshoppers?
No.
Oh.
I'm afraid of grasshoppers.
Oh, you are?
I have like a phobia of grasshoppers.
Huh. Okay.
Wait, do you?
Yes.
I think it's a woman thing. I don't know. I know other people.
We just took a hike last Friday in the foothills, and there were grasshoppers everywhere. And see, I grew up in the country.
No.
I'm a country boy.
Hey,
kind of like you.
I'm from the
But I was
glad you don't like
literally in the
grasshoppers.
country, and everywhere we walked when I was growing up in the summer, there were grasshoppers. So I was just walking along like, dude, this is awesome. This reminds me of a kid. And she was like, oh my gosh, I hate these grasshoppers. I hate them. It was not a good experience for her, but that was teasing her when I said
this is the thing about grasshoppers, okay? The thing about grasshoppers is I'm fine with you jumping and do your little thing over there. You can eat whatever wheat you want. I don't care. You do your thing. But as soon as you face me and I'm passing you in the path and you're like, I'm going to jump on you.
Yes.
That's when I have a problem.
Okay.
Same thing with frogs.
I'm sorry.
I don't like frogs
You
either
get
for
a
the
concussion,
same. Crickets.
Yeah.
No, I'm fine.
Yeah.
We were up, we took my in-laws actually up to Fairfield, and we were driving to go to the Camas Prairie to look at the flowers. And literally so many grasshoppers or crickets or Mormon crickets.
Did you see the Mormon crickets are
they're
crazy
huge.
huge.
See, I don't know what
They're
these
scary.
were.
Yeah.
They were ginormous.
Yeah, they were Mormon crickets.
I bet you they were Mormon crickets because they were also like swarming the road, and I've heard that Mormon crickets, when you drive over them, they'll like go and try to eat the dead crickets.
It's just
yeah. So I
wonderful.
think I honestly think that they were Mormon crickets because they were
they
just
were.
like flocking towards the road, and it would go through patches. It was like you would go through a area and just
we were talking about the plagues, and we're like, can you imagine what that would have been like? You would have just been like, okay,
yeah,
I'm never leaving my house.
Yeah.
Lock all the windows, airtight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
How do you discern ministries outside of your vocation, like your primary vocation? Because honestly, ministry is a vocation. It's like that's something you definitely take on.
100% pray about what ministry that you would be good at.
Continue to
pray. 100%. And I've always told guys now, because I'm more in guy ministry, men's ministry. Ministry to men is what they call it. If any of these things are taking you away from your family, and like even though they're good things, right? Your primary vocation is to your wife and your kids, and it is good for you to go and to be fed with other men and to be around that. That is a very important thing for men, is to be around like men, and it can recharge you and help you in your faith. But if you're starting to recognize, well, I'm doing way too much here, whatever it is, even if it is a good thing and it's taking you away from your faith and it's not leading you to peace, then you should probably cut that back.
I know this doesn't necessarily tie in perfectly, but do you think there's any lies that are being told to men today just about being a man? I know that's a weird question, because I think often you hear about women, like there's these lies that women shouldn't be mothers, or they shouldn't, embrace their femininity. But I also think that it's just as distorted on the male side. So do you think there's any, this is a question I actually really wanted to ask you guys, but do you think there's any lies that you see that you try to either talk to your sons about, or just any lies that you see men having to deal with, or maybe false ideas?
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest is the lie of that you can't be a man, like that it's the whole toxic masculinity, and we're just going to completely strip men of what it really means to be a man. And so, like, what is a man? A man is, the best way to look at that is modeled after Ephesians 5. Men are sacrificial in nature. They get that very strongly because God has built that into their very being. And what I mean by that is men have this innate desire within them to be a superhero. They're the ones that run into the buildings. They're the ones that storm the beaches at Normandy. And they're the ones that conquer the mountains. And yes, some women can do that too, but like they have this desire within them that I believe that God has placed into their very being to model themselves after him. And Ephesians chapter 5 says, men, lay down your lives for your bride, as Christ laid his life down for his bride, the church. And so what are you supposed to do? What does that look like? That means you're supposed to conquer and slay the dragon. You're supposed to like shield your bride from the attacks of the evil one. You're supposed to fast. You're supposed to be a man and not be ashamed or afraid to be a man. And including things that the culture, some of the things that the culture would say is toxic masculinity. And I think that's being stripped of men from a very young age. It's like even on the playgrounds, like it's like, oh, you boys are being too rowdy. Well, boys are always rowdy because that's what boys do. They like take up swords and they like play superhero with each other. It's like I for the longest time in my life, I literally believed that I was Superman. I didn't think that I was Superman. I actually believed that I was Superman. Like, and you couldn't tell me that I wasn't part of Superman's family because I believed that I was Superman. And what does a real superhero do? That's why we should do another whole thing on just the whole comic books and the whole Marvel series. They've and Star Wars, they're screwing it up right now because they are taking away the hero story. And I mean, I'm not trying to make anybody mad, but it's all feminine now. Yeah. And we are the ones, like the young men are the ones that had that stamped into their very beings in the first place, to conquer and to defend and to protect the princess.
So it's almost the same lie. It really is almost the same lie. And because you're saying to women that you have to be masculine.
They flipped it.
And then you have to tell the men, oh no, you have to step aside and let the women be masculine.
Look at all of the new comic book superhero, whatever it is. The women are now the ones, or these movies that I grew up with in the 80s that are probably way too much for a lot of the people today. The guy was the one that was, take up the gun, take up the sword, take up the whatever, and like Die Hard. Yeah. Like, I am going to get my family back, from these horrible terrorists, and that's the way we're going to go, and we're going to roll, and we're going to.
But now I think even on the same regard, so it's kind of like our culture is emasculating men, right? And telling them they need to be more sensitive. They need to all of those stronger qualities of masculinity need to be toned down. Women are being told that they need to be more masculine to get ahead. And I think in a lot of ways, women are being told that we don't need men. We can do it all without them. And that's such a lie as well, right? And so...
And the other lie is that a lot of men, and I just know this from the men's ministry that I do now, is that I'm not good enough. Yeah. That I'm not enough for her. And that I feel inadequate. And again, your identity, as I tell all the guys, is like, look, first, your identity is first that you are a beloved son of the Father. Like, that's your most important identity. And then obviously with your spouse, you know, you are a team with your spouse working to get each other to heaven and your family to heaven. And I think that, you know, that there's lots of lies out there, but to me, those are a couple of the biggest, is that you're not good enough, and that you're not actually a man. Like you are less than that, and your manhood is like something that's bad. Or
I think that when I was growing up, I noticed that in more like young adult fiction, that men are portrayed in a certain way that is addictive to women, like emotionally.
mm-hmm.
That lie continues or is reinforced because women are fed this lie of, oh, this is what the man should look like, and this is how he should act, and this is how he should connect with you emotionally, and this is how, you know, this and this and this. And then again, it reinforces the like, oh, women now have to be strong and men have to be pushed aside, and they don't feel enough, because how could they ever compete with this book that this
mm-hmm.
girl has had been daydreaming about for, you know, the
mm-hmm.
last 10 years. So
yeah. So we're, you know, the world is an interesting place right now, and that's why staying rooted in Christ and the church is so important. And
there's a lot of obviously Jesus is the ultimate role model for the man, because he laid down his life for his bride, the church, and we're called to do that as well. And so what does that look like? Look at a crucifix. Spend some time looking at a crucifix, or if you want to be going further than that, like at a very bloody crucifix, which is obviously more realistic, like the Passion of the Christ, like completely, totally, faithfully, entirely gave it all.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you're called to do for your bride, is give it all, or women in general, is like lay down your life, men, and don't be afraid of that. But we're also in the church very blessed to have incredible examples of what it means to be a man. You look at who laid down their life for the sake of the church or the sake of their bride, you know. Mm-hmm. It's like you look at the martyrs in just the last 100 years in Mexico in the Cristero Wars. You know, you look at a young man like Jose Sanchez del Rio, and this young little boy just completely, continually, after massive persecution, continually laying down his life. And so that's what I tell young men, and that's what I tell older men today, is like, here's our example. Like, lay it down. You look at an incredible priest like Blessed Father Miguel Pro, who was in the same Cristero Wars, and they told him, denounce the faith and we will let you live. No. He kept yelling, Viva Cristo Rey, over and over and over, and then they shot him.
Yeah.
You know, so I think there's amazing examples of men. You look at the most incredible saint of our lifetime, St. John Paul II, you know, who we had the blessing to both see in person. And I just, like, I can't even tell you how, like, in my mind and in my youth, just thinking of him as this rock of a man, like who was fun with the youth and who loved Jesus like passionately with his whole entire life, and who went through immense suffering in his life. You know, of course, at the end with the Parkinson's, but at the very beginning, you know, with the communists and everything that he endured in his life, to losing his mother and his father very young, you know, and just the intensity of his prayer and just the incredible example and witness he has been. I mean, that's in Ephesians chapter 5, man.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about, like, ladies out there, you talk about, like, guys, we always say, I need a Proverbs 31 wife? Is it Proverbs 31 wife? And you should be looking for a Ephesians chapter 5 husband. Like, send me an E5 husband. Like, because those are the men that are going to sacrifice and lay down their life.
I think in the church too, it's interesting because it's very easy in the world that we're in today for men to be like almost to be forced to be passive and just go along with their wives or go along with whatever, I'm going to work. And a lot of, we've seen in the church a lot more women involved in ministries, but I think that's starting to change. And I think we're starting to see more and more men stepping up and taking leadership roles in the church. I mean, obviously we have our priests and our deacons and our bishops and those men that are in the church. But as far as laity goes, I think we're seeing more and more men stepping up. It's been really powerful witnessing the men that come to the men's conference and who are wanting to take on leadership roles in the church and in their families and not be, so passive. And that's what we need. We need more men stepping into roles in ministry and using their gifts and talents in those ways. So, yeah.
The men's conference was incredible. The first one that we did here, we've partnered with Salt and Light the entire time, which has been a blessing. But we were like, it's funny. My brother-in-law came to me 2 years before, and he's like, we got to do this men's conference. Like, we can do this. And I'm like, okay. Well, we were heavily involved in ICYC, and I was like, I don't want to be overstretched. And he's like, well, I'm going to do it without you. And I'm like, okay. He's a go-getter, my brother-in-law, but we also work really well together at balance. And so he has his gifts, and I have mine. He's a driver, and I'm kind of like, I think about things very intentionally, and so finally it was like, okay, let's do this. And I was thinking maybe we'll get 300 guys, because Pendleton down the street here was doing a men's conference. They were getting 250 to 300, and that first year, wasn't it like 800
or 900, yeah.
Wow.
800 guys that very first men's conference. And what it said to me was, I was like, they're hungry for this.
Yeah.
The men are absolutely hungry for this, and we've averaged probably 1,000 or more guys. It's, again, we're one of the number one men's. We are the largest attended men's conference in the Northwest for sure, easy. But it just shows me that, like, they are hungry. Men are like hungry, and we've had so many incredible stories of guys saying, gosh, I've just been really away from my faith. I haven't been the leader in my family, and this has just really fired me up. Thank you so much for, putting this on and giving me, I guess, permission again to, like, lead my family. And so it's been really awesome.
Do you have any advice for wives to follow? I feel like for myself, my husband does a great job in leading, but sometimes I catch myself almost, I don't know, I guess just kind of stepping on his toes a little bit. I think that comes along with, like, little kids. I'm with them all the time. And it's, don't discipline them like that. Discipline them like this. What kind of advice do you have to let your husband lead?
I think that's, I'm not an expert at that in any way, but it is something that that's been on my heart recently, more so. I think as you grow and spend time in prayer and have self-awareness, I think that's probably been an area in my own life that I've, I tend to kind of be controlling. I tend to, like, take the lead a lot of times and want to, like, work at that and want to be intentional about giving him that role to lead and to, and he has. I mean, throughout our marriage, there's been a lot of areas, especially with the faith, that he has been the leader. But of course, we always talk about being a team together. But I do think for me, that's just been an area that I catch myself going, I can feel myself almost stepping into that masculine sense, I guess. I've like, okay, I got to get in control. I've got to make the plans. I need to figure this out. I need to do this, versus stepping back a little bit. And I think it's a form of humility. It's a form of letting go. Again, we talked about that security of, like, trying to be in control of things, and yet, I think when we're doing things well, like, that's when our relationship's really thriving, when he is in that kind of lead role in our marriage, and when I'm able to follow and support him in that. I think that's great. But
Do you feel like pulled to step in more, or do you notice it? Do you notice it?
Do I notice it?
I guess
Guys out there,
trick question. Just
do you notice it? Yes, we notice it. I think on the flip side, Father Mike Schmitz gives an awesome talk on this. He talks about marriage and men and women, and the woman has this desire to control, and a guy has this, like, I don't know. I don't know if it's desire or flaw. I can't remember what Father Mike said, but the guy has on the opposite end, and this is because of the fall. This is all part of the fall from grace, but the guy has a desire to just be passive. And there are times, just like what she's saying, that I have to, that I catch myself going, okay, I am being a little passive here. And I need to do better, and I need to step up. And again, it's a lot of surrendering and self awareness in and through a lot of prayer, and really dying to yourself and getting to know, okay, yeah, I am. That's actually a tricky one. You're asking hard questions. These are probably we've done a lot of interviews before, and these are some. You're good. You're really stretching us here. I would say, being totally raw here and honest, like, this is something we've talked about a lot recently, and especially after having listened to that Father Mike Schmitz talk, and we've had several talks around this very thing, and I think that that's an area both of us can always improve on and do better with each other and even ourselves. So if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason that I ask is I don't think that it's necessarily individual. I think almost everyone in our period of time, not everyone, but a lot of people I think struggle with this.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, obviously, if Michael Schmitz is putting a whole talk on it, obviously multiple people deal with this. Yeah. It's interesting about marriage is, I think, as a woman, right, when I was a little girl, you'd have an imagination of what marriage was and how wonderful it is. And, I think oftentimes people think that, being religious would be so much harder. But really, I mean, marriage is really beautiful, and I'm really glad I don't have to be dating anymore. Right. But it's also eye-opening when you get married to, like, I have some stuff to work on.
Yeah.
I do this thing, or I'm really hurting someone,
Right.
I'm doing something that's hurting someone. And it's like, and a lot of, you can apologize for this and people can give you grace, but it takes time to repair. It's kind of like confession in a way, right? Oh yeah. Where you have to do your penance and you have to be sorry, and and you have to make things right.
Make
again.
Amends. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Marriage is I think, I mean, I too had the fairy tale idea, and I think most of us growing up think that you get married and you live happily ever after.
Right. They never show the end. Like, that's like the beginning. Your wedding is the beginning, not the end.
Right. They go off in the sunset and then everything's great. And then we're like, okay, we you go off, you have your honeymoon, and you come back and you're like, oh wow, now we really have to get to work here. And it is, I mean, we have crucifixes in pretty much every room in our house that remind us of this continually laying down our lives and realizing that, I mean, even just the other day, we're like, oh gosh, we've been married for 21 years and there's still things that we're working on that we've been working on for 21 years. But we just keep working. And I think that's my advice, is just don't stop fighting for each other and keep working.
Don't ever give up.
I listened to Sarah Swafford. She came to Belmont when I was in college. And I remember the thing that I remembered, like the biggest takeaway I got from her talk was to continue to strive, to strive every day.
Striving.
But the other thing I took away was she said, her husband Andrew said something to the effect of, you want me to love you like God loves you, and that's something I'm never going to be able to love you perfectly. And to have you put that on me is unfair. And you need to have your relationship with God first and foremost before you like rank my love with his.
Right.
Yeah,
that's good advice. Yeah, I
think it's very good advice. I think it's even good advice to remember in marriage, because there's definitely times where you're like, okay, I'm really hurting right now, and maybe it's just that I'm longing for God's love, and it's not anything to do with my family or my kids or anything, and it's just I'm not as close as I need to be with Christ at this moment, and that's why I'm feeling this way. Yeah,
and there's certain things like that I can't put on him. I have to I have to go to God for, and it's not Jonney's place to fulfill those certain things. And we talk about, we do a lot of things together. We have our prayers as a couple that we pray together. We have our prayers as a family, but then we also realize that we each need to be taking time personally in our own relationship with God, or going on retreats, or taking time to nurture our own relationship with our Lord, even separately from each other, because that's important too. So
well, thank you guys so much. I'm so glad to have you on the podcast.
Good questions. Wow.
Thank you. I do want to say, is there anywhere that if anyone wanted to maybe follow you on Instagram, or are you guys on social media, or is there anything if someone had a question?
You have Insta, don't you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Larissa Horn. So
okay.
I do not Insta.
You do not Insta. That's okay. There's not a lot of people. I feel like it's so interesting because I think like people younger than me, they are all on TikTok.
Yeah.
Yes. Have TikTok.
Yeah.
I downloaded TikTok for about 6 months, and I wasted about 3 hours every day thinking it was like 20 minutes.
Yes.
Like, this is
crazy.
dangerous.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
It's been a blessing being with you, and we love you.
Yes.
We love you.
Yeah.
I love you.
You're amazing.
Salt and Light also loves you guys.
We're grateful for Salt and Light Radio, so in so many ways.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Desert Wanderers. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up as well as subscribe down below. We're produced by Salt and Light Radio, so you can find us on social platforms at Salt and Light Radio or Desert Wanderers Podcast. We produce episodes every week, and we launch them for you on Wednesdays. So make sure to tune in for next week's episode, and we'll see you then.